Hi there, my name is Naeem Tryman, and I have been doing a series of video blogs based on my life story as written in my memoir, Praying for Peace, A Journey to Serenity. I've completed kind of outlining the chapters of the book and basically my story, and I'm on to the things that I did to change my life, and the goal is to share those with some people and hopefully affect them in the same ways that I was affected. Uh, I'm talking about The Road Less Traveled, which was a book written in the late 70s by Dr. Scott Peck. Um, and it's a book that it changed my life in the, probably one of the darkest periods of my life. I came across it at a time where I was desperate for growth and change, and I don't know that I could have run across a better book about a lot of the basic things in life. Like the last blog I did was on love and discipline as a function of love. And the other major point that I got from this book had to do with God and how I thought of God and how I related to God. And this was a really, really big issue for me because I grew up in a household where there wasn't a lot of spirituality modeled at all. Um, we went to church, but it wasn't a function of my parents' spirituality. It was more of a function of what my father thought was socially acceptable. And there wasn't a lot of prayer or faith or direction as far as turning to the divine in my household, and I struggled with that a lot, especially when I was trying to come to terms with a lot of the tragedies in my life. Um, so that section it's entitled Grace, and it talks about firstly it talks about the idea of religion, and Dr. Peck defines religion basically just as your own personal understanding of what life is all about, not necessarily anything particularly relating to God, but more so your world views and how you view the world. And that was big for me because as I got older and as I recognized myself to be a lesbian, it was really hard to try and find myself in the faith of Christianity when so many people around me and so many things around me were indicating that I was a sinner and I was wrong and doomed to hell by nature of the way that I was born, and that was difficult for me. And Dr. Peck kind of debunked the idea of religion and took religion off the table and shifted that to an idea of spirituality. And I think that especially this time, this day and age, a lot of people are fighting that same battle. Maybe not along the lines of sexual orientation, but along the lines of just what's right and how to act and how to carry yourself and what it means to be a good Christian or really any faith tradition. One thing he talked about was that the path to holiness comes in questioning everything possible. The idea of a faith being spoon fed to you or you being told what to believe, is completely contradictory to this idea of a God that is about growth and about love. About things that are founded in love. Um, Another really really big tenet of me learning to grow and learning to become comfortable in this life was to understand that growing spiritually meant to seek things that were threatening and unfamiliar, which is scary. Is basically this idea of facing fear and stepping out of your comfort zone and questioning things. Um, I One thing I really struggled with growing up was that the idea of God that was given to me, and not particularly by my family, but just more so from what I got from a little bit of time that we went to church, and in society in general, was that this God is this almost human-like form. This idea of like a person, up there looking down on us. Somewhat of a puppet master, and someone that I needed to please, and God the Father, and when you have a father that you don't trust, that you don't believe has your best interest at heart, that you think is just kind of sitting around waiting for you to mess up and sitting in judgment of you, it's really, really hard to actively seek a relationship with, a similar idea of God. And, Dr. Peck definitely changed that for me in explaining, or at least positing from his standpoint, that God is not up there. God is inside, and God comes to you in a number of ways. The three most major of which are dreams, idle thoughts, and Freudian slips. And that's because, he believes, and I believe now, that God resides, in your unconscious, in your subconscious, that somewhere deep inside your mind, deep inside your soul, there's truths that you have access to, but that, based on the paradigm of life that we live in, that you kind of push away, or are uncomfortable with. And all you have to do is kind of tap into that, which is where meditation comes in. And I've become really big on meditation. Not as much as I would like to, but I'm getting the hang of it little by little. So yeah, dreams. I don't remember a whole lot of my dreams, so I don't. That's not one that really that I use that much. But idle, and particularly not just idle thoughts, but recurring thoughts that seem to come out of nowhere, and that that come over and over again, that are persistent. I know one for me is that as I came to a point in my life where I was seeking what my purpose was. I feel like there's a number. I want to be a speaker. I want to help people as a life coach. But the one thing that has always occurred to me ever since watching The Cosby Show, when Theo used to work in a community center, was this idea of a community center. I was from a suburban town, fairly affluent, and we didn't have anything like that. And it wasn't particularly maybe for that demographic, but this idea that community centers are important, that community is important, and that particularly in the inner cities where people are so discouraged and unsupported and struggling, that communities need to come together to support each other and provide, various resources, depending on whatever your particular gifts are. And, I would kind of put that down and follow another path for a little bit, but then it would come back. And I kind of put that down, follow another path for a little bit, and it would come back. And that's become something that is one of my life goals, is to open a string of community centers that offers a lot to people, particularly, again, in inner cities, and, mentoring, counseling, tutoring, recreation, 12-step meetings, parenting classes, support groups, just community, vocational training, we've got community policing, better relations with police. And I believe that, and then finding a way to do this where it the cost doesn't come to people that are already, robbing Peter to pay Paul, and so, that is part of how I found my passion. My passion is helping people. My passion is using my experiences to inspire and encourage other people. And I believe that that's a passion that was put in my heart, by God. And not a God up there, but a God that actually resides within me. And then, Freudian slips. I don't know that those happen to me too often either. But, Freudian slips are basically kind of like when you mean one thing and something else comes out, and, it's like, oh, I didn't mean that, but then it's like, maybe I did. But anyway, the major function of this for me, especially somebody that, and it could be, for me, somebody that didn't grow up with a tremendous amount of religious structure, but it could be equally as helpful for someone that grew up in a very strict religious household and that grew into adulthood and doesn't quite feel comfortable with the norms that were set or with the beliefs that were given to them, and it's this idea that God is this feeling in this flow of energy and of love and of compassion and justice, and we manifest that in every single day, that God is not in any one place, but He's actually everywhere. And I don't know how many people that strikes a chord with, but it struck a major chord with me, and it feels a lot more natural. It feels a lot more comfortable for me. So, I'm not here to give anybody their own impression of God. That's a personal journey, but I know that for me, being able to kind of step back and be told that it's okay to question, that it's not, you don't have to just have this blinding faith in doctrine and in something that somebody else wrote, that may or may not have been divinely inspired. That that your deepest connection with God is how you feel on the inside. It's what feels right. Not necessarily what feels good. Because there's a difference, but what feels right. And things like caring for children, caring for the poor, caring for the mentally ill, and you know being compassionate. And I'm shooting this. I'm not sure if I'm going to get to upload this today, but I am shooting this on January 20th, which was the observance of Dr. King's birthday. And he talked a great deal about the fact that doing God's work is doing justice. It's putting yourself to the side a little bit to help the next man, and to understand that we are all intricately connected. I should have wrote down his quote exactly, but one thing that he basically said is that we're all connected in this garment of mutuality, that we're all connected, and that our responsibilities go beyond just the people that we know. It goes to people, to people all around the world that suffer, that we're not given the opportunities that we were given, or the chances that we were given, that don't have a roof over their head, that don't know for sure that they can eat whenever they want to, that struggle every day just to stay alive, and that's become my passion, and I believe that is divinely inspired. I believe that that's the way that this energy, this life force that I choose to call God, intends for us to operate, and for us to survive, So I hope that touches one or two people out there today, and I hope you have a blessed day. Take care.